Greetings, unsettled souls. Oh, welcome to the Correct Views. It is Sam I.B., the Gangi, doing political commentary here for the Media Speaks. As you can see, I am not at home. Most of you probably think I am in Cedar Point, and I'm not at Cedar Point. You don't think that because they're closed. But those of you that don't live in Ohio might, because that's normally when I post from a hotel room. I'm actually in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I've never been here before. I am working on booking a tour for my band, so that is why I am not in my usual haunt. Then again, thanks to just the basic premises of life screwing me over, I don't really have the internet, and this hotel does. So Bulldog reminded me, even though it's 3:47 in the freaking morning, that I should do a show. And he's right. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot through all of the things that I know that all of you have been looking forward to. And the first one I want to get to here is it's a way that Ohio has really let me down. And this is one of the times that I wish Christelle was present and caring, because we put a lot of work into this. On the ballot in Ohio, let me start at the beginning, was last voting Tuesday, was a initiative to allow drug costs to be brought down for all of us by making sure that the drugs that were brought into payment plans from you, me, and everybody else could not be higher than what vets pay. Let's think about it. Why should they be allowed, drug companies be allowed to charge $3 a pill to the VA and charge you $15 a pill? The bill was going to make sure that drug prices came down for all of us. Make it a little brighter in here. For all of us. However, the drug companies put a lot of money into this, saying that it was going to cost vets more, which it was not going to do. That was a bold-faced lie, because the VA would never allow it, especially with a president like Trump in office. That would never happen. It doesn't matter if you like Trump. I happen to, but it doesn't matter if you do. Let's just agree here that Trump is all about the vets. We know this. I'm not saying whoever your candidate wasn't. I'm just saying that Trump is all about the vets, right? Okay, so let's face it. He's not going to allow that to happen. This was something that the big drug companies went ahead and pushed through so that they could keep charging us a lot of money. I wish John Calhoun, who is in my hotel room with me, was still awake, because he talks a lot about drug prices. And if he was awake and if he was hearing what I was saying, he would be right by my side having a fit, because I don't think he knows that this happened, but it did. They have Ohio voted against lower drug prices for all of us. Now, if you're not from Ohio, don't tune out, don't go away, stay with me, and I'll tell you why it matters. Because if this hasn't happened in your state, it's going to. And if it has and you've been defeated on it, then I'm explaining here how you can tell people what a horrible idea it is to vote against it. So I am now going to go to screen share and show you this article here, because this is just disturbing. Ohio voters reject drug price measure, back victims' rights. Now, I told you a minute ago that Christelle and I spent a lot of time and effort in this, and let me tell you real quick how that is before we do the whole screen share thing, actually. When I was, and many listeners know this, I was between jobs last summer, and I was doing anything someone could do. I currently write for the Conservative Daily Post, so I have a job, but I didn't. And when that happens to people, you take any job you can get. And one of them was signing people up for a petition to get the drug initiative onto the ballot so that people could vote for it. And I went to the excuse me, Republican National Committee in Cleveland when they were having the election for Trump. And I spent copious amounts of time, as my dad would say, if he were alive, that I was putting in copious amounts of time in order to get this on the ballot. Christelle and I walked miles trying to tell people the benefits of making sure that your drug costs were as low as they should be, to make sure that you weren't paying $15 for a $3 pill or a $5 pill. Okay, maybe the veterans would have had to have paid $4 a pill instead of 3 in order for all of us to have gotten them cheaper. That's not a bad trade. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And here's what happened. This is from CantonRepository.com, Canton Rep. Ohio voters rejected a proposal on Tuesday that sought to curb prescription drug prices paid by state practitioners, but paid by state for prisoners, injured workers, and poor people, while supporting a crimes victims' rights amendment with no organized opposition. Now listen to this, because this is important. I'm even going to highlight it here on the screen for you. The pharmaceutical industry spent an estimated $70 million to oppose Issue 2, the Ohio Drug Price Relief Act, saying that it would reduce access to medicines and raise the prices for veterans and others. Now look, now this is where many people that know me to be a libertarian are going to find that I'm actually liberal in some areas. Libertarianism teaches that you are responsible for everything that happens to you that you are responsible for. Well, if you're sick, especially if you're born sick and you haven't lived off of junk food and heroin your whole life, then there's a really good chance that you were sick for reasons that aren't your fault. Therefore, you should have access to decent drug prices. Secondly, it says here that it would reduce the access to medicines. Well, it wouldn't reduce the access to medicines if you insisted that they weren't allowed to not offer the medicine at the lower price in order to have it sold in Ohio at all. That's confusing. Let me explain it again. If you say this lighter here, you cannot sell this lighter in Ohio unless you promise to sell it with what we tell you you have to sell it to. If you were to do it that way, then there would be no way that this lie could exist. And that's very important because this is one of the ways that big pharmaceutical companies hose over the average person. Supporters led by California AIDS-based healthcare foundation spent close to $17 million in support of it. So you had the big drug companies paying, let me show you this, highlighting $70 million to oppose it. While the people who were trying to help those suffering from AIDS only had $17 million. And the opposition called the campaign an assault on truth. Make no mistake, although this particular campaign did not win tonight, it is just the beginning of an awareness in Ohio about what huge drug companies are doing to the people, the campaign said. The system that we have drug pricing in America has got to give, or sooner rather than later, one state will successfully stand up to the big drug companies, and Ohio will wish that they had been first. Now, as I close out of this story, let me go ahead and explain to you how true that is and why that is so true. Ohio did not okay the gambling in Ohio when we should have. And I was in favor of it long ago, and I'll tell you why. I really don't gamble much. I haven't been to a casino probably in 2 or 3 years. And I think I spent less than $50 when I was there. I don't know, Bulldog's asleep, but I guarantee I didn't spend $50 the last time we went there. And when I was on my bachelor party about a little over 2.5 years ago. I'm not a big gambler, but I was in favor of the right to gamble in Ohio for a number of reasons. First of all, again, I'm libertarian. The government has no right to tell you what the hell you can and cannot do as long as you're not harming, hurting, raping, or otherwise infringing upon someone's rights. In my opinion, not my opinion, it is fact that according to the way that the Constitution is written, if you want to smoke crack or use heroin or do something stupid, you should be allowed to do it. Now, I'm working on an anti-heroin tour right now. I'm not saying that I condone it. It's a stupid idea, and I am against it, and I'm going to go on the road saying that I'm against it. However, you should not be arrested for it if you do it. That is between you, your doctor, God, your wife, whoever. It's not up to the government. If you harm somebody or hurt somebody, we already have laws against that. We don't need drug laws against it, too. However, and this is a big deal because when you look at the government stopping something, they said that you cannot gamble in Ohio for a long time. Mountaineer was making a fortune. Everybody around us was making a fortune. So all around us, this gambling is happening. It's happening in Michigan. It's happening in West Virginia. By the time Ohio here decides they're going to do it, everyone else is already gambling. So there's no money to be made on it. What's going to happen to these drug companies, and particularly states that allow the drug companies to keep putting their fist up our wazoo, whatever state is first to break the hymen here, if I will, is going to be the one that gets to enjoy the virgin. I know it's crass. I'm not politically correct. That makes a lot of sense. And Ohio is, just like the gambling issue, Ohio is going to wish that they had gotten on the boat with this sooner. Just two more to get to here. Check this out. A wasteland. North Korean defector reveals gruesome news. Babies affected by the tests. I wrote this for the Conservative Daily Post. It's my article. Now, let me explain to you what my research has showed me is happening here. This is quite frightening. For those of you that follow my Fukushima news, you won't want to miss a word that I'm going to say. We have a problem here in understanding the basics of nuclear radiation and why it's so bad. When we were driving here today, we passed the Davis-Besse nuclear power plant, and you could see this gross monstrosity as you were driving up the freeway on the way to Michigan for like 5 or 6 miles. I wish Christelle had been with us. It was just spewing radioactive water droplets, which we know contain tritium. And there's these signs up saying 90% of Ohio's green energy comes from nuclear. Well, there's no healthy anything coming from nuclear. It's going to poison you, okay? Don't let them lie to you. So America doesn't really understand. There's people driving around the plant and going through the plant and all of this. Hello, viewers. Don't go away. I'm getting there. I have a point here. Don't go away. You've got all these people driving around the area, not understanding that they're being poisoned. And it takes generations for birth defects and deformities to happen, right? Well, it's not in North Korea. And this is why I'm happy you stayed with me. North Korea has managed to conduct bomb testing in only a few years. And as I'm going to show you here, they've already experienced birth defects. And I've got lots of sources to prove it. Birth defects do not happen this quickly. This is really, really bad. There is no other way to put this, I wrote. The news today of the North Korea is horrifying beyond the scope of mere words. It almost cannot be conveyed. The Hateful Kingdom's nuclear testing site, the one that they are foolishly toppling a mountain on, along with the surrounding area, has been transformed into a wasteland and has caused birth defects among newborn babies. This is according to the Telegraph, so I didn't make this up. The confirmation is from defectors who would certainly know. Their stories all match up, which is a sure sign of the truth. Obviously, that's how they catch criminals every day. This is nothing short of a travesty. There are only 3 ways that this can be. It can happen from past test leaks during development, a similar nuclear reactor over time, or from a massive release recently. Perhaps, I wrote, a 4th option is all 3, which does not make the story any less bleak. This damage is cumulative. That means that it can never be undone. It will affect every raindrop, leaf, and piece of food grown for all of eternity, often with a half-life of billions of years. Look up uranium, plutonium half-life if you doubt me. 21 defectors from Kyushu County in the DPRK, which is North Korea, have found that 80% of the trees that were planted die in Pyongyang, and the underground wells are dry and dying. This is seen in other wastelands, but not quite at the speed that we are seeing it in North Korea. And this matters because if it keeps gestating this quickly, we're going to see deformities like we've not even seen in Chernobyl. I heard from a relative in Kinju that deformed babies were born in the hospitals there, said one of the North Koreans who fled the hellish regime. He also said that locals were worried about the radiation, and they have every reason to be. Deformities show up to the scene so rapidly in numbers. For that to happen, this is a high sign that this poison over the peninsula is certainly as bad as Fukushima, which Japan is still trying to downplay, and, as I mentioned earlier, the aforementioned Chernobyl. It can be argued that even those disasters were not showing their wake as quickly as this, though Fukushima is still ongoing and not a mere series of detonations, which we think North Korea is. Listen to this. I spoke on the phone with family members I left behind there, and they told me that all of the underground wells dried up after the 6th nuclear test, admitted one defector. This would have been the bomb test, of course, which happened in September. So they're testing nuclear radiation and not even warning people. And one of the reasons that I have to say that this is so dire is because it's close to what we did in America. We tested nuclear weapons in Las Vegas, and we told the people to look at the skies, and they'd see the pretty colors. And it ended up so toxic that it killed everyone that worked on the movie The Conqueror, including John Wayne. They all died of this. This killed them. Okay, it was the end of them. So this matters because we're seeing it much more rapidly here. This shows that we cannot trust really what the United Nations tell us that they know. It stands to reason that if the radiation count was this high, someone must have known. For the good of the bottom line, since the people are rightly afraid to buy from wastelands, this was hidden from us. They want us to keep buying from Japan. They want us to keep buying their goods no matter how toxic it might be for us. Those who were lucky enough to live through the testings of 06 and 09 in North Korea, which were most likely the cause of the most recent rust of defects, said that the locals were not even told about the tests nor the risk. They were not even told to hide. Only family members of soldiers were evacuated to underground shafts. Ordinary people were completely unaware of the tests, the victim said. Now, this matters because this is going to give them diseases for the rest of their life. Since these 6 tests from the sadistic Kim Jong-un, residents have been banned from making hospital appointments in the capital, Pyongyang. This could mean that the system is overwhelmed with illness, or that the prize city of North Korea does not want this known, seen, nor photographed. Now, there's a picture of what deformities look like from depleted uranium to give you some idea what we're looking at here, because this is far more toxic than depleted uranium. It's almost over here. This theory is more than conjecture, since it is reported that anyone caught boarding trains with samples of soil, water, or leaves reportedly being arrested and sent to prison camps. The leaders are fully aware of what they have done and do not want it getting out. It can be guessed that all clothes are burned to destroy the evidence, too. If so, this will spread the toxins from the clothes all over as well. These are the weapons that the Hermit Kingdom is moving around, and this is surely a reason why President Donald Trump is working so hard to find peace and to make a deal here. As for those who want the U.S. into a war, there is no need for it. For Kim Jong-un has already bombed his own people for us. Now, remember, a sure sign that you're being poisoned or that you're being harmed is when you can tell that there is a cover-up that won't allow it to be known. Well, friends, that's what we're seeing here. North Korea will imprison anyone who allows any soil or water samples to be tested. That's a sure sign that they're glowing red beyond all imagination. And that's going to wash over into the jet stream along with the radiation from Fukushima, and it's going to continue to poison the west coast of the United States. Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, parts of Alaska, of course, Canada, which isn't the US, I know that, and places that I have long told you that you should not live in. Got one to go to, friends. That brings us to, come on, get ready to sing the Dumbdee of the freaking day. Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear him say you're an idiot. Oh, then that felt good. You are an idiot. That brings us to the Dumbdee of the day, the stupidest article I could find. Season of the Witch. You know what's happening? This goes out to all the people that hate Donald Trump so much that you're going to lose your own eternity for it. People are embracing witchcraft and Satanism in order to show that they hate Donald Trump, who is a Christian. Sending your own soul to hell, and that is exactly the way it is, and that is true, is like saying I'm going to shoot myself in the foot because I hate Sam the Gangi. This doesn't make any sense, but that's what we're looking at, and I'm going to get to it here. It's from the New York Times on a Wednesday evening late last week. I said it on a class called Witchcraft 101, Curses, Hexes, and Jinxes. In other words, it's cool to curse, hex, or jinx the president, even if you have to get into black magic to do it. And that's exactly what witchcraft is. I don't want to hear about this white magic crap. It's a fashionable occult boutique called Catland in Brunswick, Brooklyn. More than a dozen people, most of them young women, that doesn't surprise me, probably feminists, sat in folding chairs in the store's black-walled event space. The instructor was one of Catland's co-owners, Dakota, I think it's Bracali, a charismatic, foul-mouthed 28-year-old former MAC makeup artist dressed in flowing black with a beard of long lavender nails. If you're not ready to admit that the universe is chaos, I'm not sure how far you're going to go, Barnacle said in the class, describing witchcraft as a way to exercise power in the world without transcendental moral rules. In other words, no morality. A supernatural witchcraft technology for taking care of yourself when no one else will. Witchcraft, Barnacle said, lets you be the arbiter of your own justice. Well, let me explain to you why that's not necessarily true before I go on. There are many people who say that if you, and I'm one of them, that if you can find enough faith to believe that what you want is already here, anything you ask in his name, that being Jesus, will be granted to you. Now, if you think I'm full of crap, maybe you don't believe in Christianity, but that would certainly not make you believe in this voodoo hoodoo that they're talking about either. Because they're making the same argument that I am, but mine isn't only worried about me. That's what this is. It's worried about me, the great big I, screw everybody else. I suspect that this assumption of chaos, the sense of institutions have failed and no one in charge, helps explain the well-documented resurgence of occultism among millennials. Now look, it's making it sound like Christianity doesn't tell you that the universe is chaos, but it certainly does. As a matter of fact, God himself in the Bible tells you that the world belongs to Satan. So don't act like the Bible isn't telling you that the universe is chaos, because it certainly is telling you that. Attempts at spell casting are obviously not unique. Well, we get that. Witches are everywhere these days, says the Introduction to Basic Witches, a cheeky how-to book about witchcraft published in August. Well, look, you could say that crap is all around you, but that doesn't mean you want to be part of it. Okay? Disease is all around you. That doesn't mean you want to be part of it. I don't care if witchcraft is around me or not. There was a vibrant spiritualist movement in the pre-Civil War America, and during the War of the First Lady, Mary Todd Lincoln is said to have held seances in the White House. Well, we might be paying for that a lot now. But this guy says he grew up in the Jesus camp and with snake handlers. All right, look, I'm tired of people calling Christians snake handlers. Get over it. That's not what it is, okay? Let's face it. When the Bible talked about snake handlers, here's what they meant. It used to be that when you were traveling, like Paul and the disciples were, and that's who he was speaking to. He wasn't saying that you and I need to do this. Jesus Christ was saying something very simple. I am sending you through mountainous areas where there are two very common things: poisonous snakes and poisonous drinking water. You couldn't always get healthy water when you were traveling, particularly in how dry the Middle East can be and the places that Christ was sending people out to teach in. And there was a really good chance that you would come along either poisoned water, stale water, or that you would end up bitten by a poisonous snake. Since Christ sent his people out into these areas to preach his gospel, he had to make sure that they would not be hurt by what they may encounter. So he allowed those people, he said you, not all of humanity. When he's talking about all humanity, he says things like whosoever, meaning all of us. Whosoever, anyone. He didn't say that. He said you. That's not you listening to this. He wasn't talking to you. He wasn't telling you to handle a snake like an idiot. He was saying to the people that he was sending into harm's way that you people will not be harmed by poisonous water or bitten by a poisonous snake, because otherwise the word wouldn't have gotten out, okay? So that's the truth regarding this. So don't let people tell you snake handler is a part of Christianity, or that you have to turn to witchcraft to prove that there's chaos in the universe. The Bible is very clear that there's chaos in the universe. You have a choice. You can choose good or you can choose evil. When you are married, you can choose to love the person that you are with, or you can choose to betray them. You can choose to honor the vows that you make in life, or at least try to. We're all going to fail, sometimes due to our own weakness, but you try. You either try to be good or you try to be bad. And a number of people are trying to be bad just to prove how alternative they are, and to prove how current they are, how cool they are. And really all they're doing is embracing evil for the sake of feeling good and feeling important, and maybe flipping the bird to the president. I'm sorry, my soul is worth more than all of that. And that is why these people win the Dumbdee of the day. Good night, friends. God bless. Thank you for listening. Please remember that you can donate at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com, where every penny that you give to me goes towards a better show. Do it, please, through PayPal. Good night. God bless.